Looking into Game Plan 2027, former Ngunjiri Town MP is here with us, and Ngunjiri Wambugu is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I can't complain.
Mm-hmm. You can't?
I can't complain.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good thing.
Yes.
It's a good place to be.
Yes.
I would imagine.
choose to complain, but I choose not to complain. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good to have you here, Ngunjiri. And
good to be here. Thank you.
You know, a lot has happened, or a lot continues to happen in the conversations in the happenings in the country. And the conversations spur from that and then get people to understand, okay, so this is the direction in which we should be going. And then there's been a lot of vitriol, unfortunately. And things that you thought would die down don't.
Yes.
And I can make that connection between a rumbling that has been heard, perhaps in a school, and it was not handled. And we wake up on Thursday morning and 10 girls are dead.
Yes. Thoughts and prayers are with Utumishi girls at this moment. Yeah.
That perhaps something would have been done about a dissatisfaction or something that could have been spoken about, and that particular fire would have been quelled. But it didn't. And if we can draw parallels between that and what's currently happening in the political space, where there are tribal slurs that are taking place on ethnicity. But before we get into all of that, today's proverb comes from the Gambia.
Yes.
And Dennis will share that with you. I'd love to get your interpretation.
And the proverb says, a disobedient fowl obeys in a pot of soup.
A disobedient what?
Fowl.
Okay.
Obeys in a pot of soup.
Essentially, what I understand that to mean is that a fowl can actually be disobedient out there. Once it's put in a bowl of soup, it has to fit into that. Yeah. It's already in a space. I mean, it's food. It just does whatever it's. So you could have a moment when you're out there and you can be disobedient, but when you get put into a particular space, you have to flow with whatever is happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well said.
My understanding. Yes.
Indeed. So, just getting into the weekend, we heard what we heard. And a lot of folks are saying, well, you know what, don't talk about it too much. Just let it go. It was said, there was an apology that was rendered. Just leave it alone. We don't have to deal with it. It's been put out, let it go. And if I'm going to draw the parallels that I'm drawing, it's the same thing here. Like, okay, maybe people made noise in school on a Thursday evening, and then there was some uproar, but, you know, snuff it out and let it go. On this particular one, folks not seem to be letting it go. That members of parliament came out yesterday and said, if the person who said this thing does not resign or is not put out from a particular party, then we will leave the party. And it's continued to escalate. So what are we dealing with here? Is there an aversion to this ethnic tribal slur? Or is it politics playing out? Is there an issue with ethnicity and tribalism in this political arena?
Okay, thank you. First, let me say my thoughts and prayers are with the parents and children and the families affected in Utumishi, in that fire. I mean, as a parent, I can just try and imagine you've got a child in that school, what's going on right now. And I pray we're not going to find that something that could have been avoided. It would be very sad if it's something that could have been avoided that wasn't and led to this. But then the connection and, of course, the correlation with what do you've tried to bring it and say maybe there's something that had been flagged that wasn't done and then led to this. And now today we are all sad and mourning, but then you look back and, you know, Africans, we don't like doing those things. When you have an accident and maybe your car was in a bad state, nobody wants you to say that maybe your car was in a bad state. We want to say it was an act of God, and you know. So when you look at the politics of the moment, first, these are actually politicians behaving badly. I was somewhere else and I said it's politicians having verbal diarrhea, bad manners. Kabisa?
Yeah.
And when you get to a situation where you say what Hassan said, and then the reactions come the way they are coming, first, of course, there's opportunistic reactions. These opportunistic reactions. There are people who have taken this as an opportunity. Of course, with the by-elections in Olkalau, there's one side of the political divide that has seen this as fodder that they can use to hammer the other side. So the opposition is escalating this conversation so that they can use it to show how these are really bad people. Then, of course, within government, there are people who want to run away from this and make sure it doesn't stick to them, especially the Mount Kenya government, the people from Mount Kenya who are in government. And that's how you now start hearing the kind of threats and what do you call them? Deadlines being given that if you don't get out,
48
we
hours.
are leaving. Also because this is something very difficult to sell in Mount Kenya, that you're working with a guy who said what he said. But then there's also a much deeper conversation we need to be having. It's said that from the heart, the mouth speaks, right? There was no provocation to that conversation. So there's somewhere it came from. And I think that's now what we need to have a conversation about. Was this an isolated case, or is this there are people who are clapping. So yes, we can tell the person who said it to say sorry, but there are people who engaged with his thought and found it to be attractive.
Yes.
And to be something, because you say he didn't apologize then. Nobody stopped him at that moment. He apologized later when there was a backlash from somewhere else. So where he was speaking at, and within the within the environment he was speaking, the people he was speaking to, people around him, they didn't see it as bad as we saw it later. So what does that mean? I have heard him try to explain. In fact, his apology wasn't really an apology; it was an explanation. The way you say something, and then people tell you, that came out bad. You say, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant. So it's really not an apology. It was the sense of, this is what I meant. But in case you misunderstood me, I am sorry.
But he also went out yesterday, additionally, and said, well, I was referring to one person.
Exactly.
He came out and said very clearly, this is the person that I was referring to. But again, I'm just saying sorry in case,
yes, that's
any
what I'm
of
saying.
this
It was a
anybody
clarification.
else.
It wasn't an
Right.
apology. It's that I meant those bad things you think I said, I didn't say them about you. I said them about her.
Yeah.
It's like it is okay to say certain bad things about a particular person. But not about another person. And the problem is that once you say it, you can't choose how I interpret it. You said it.
Yeah.
My interpretation is mine.
True.
You might have meant to talk about Uhuru, for example, but me, I chose to interpret it to mean anybody like Uhuru. Anybody who has property, anybody who has land. So why would you say it? As a leader, why would you open that door? Because now closing it has become very difficult.
Do you think he was speaking for himself?
Hassan comes from the coastal area, and the issue of land is a highly emotive political conversation. And I think because it's still a story that he might be running for office in 2027, he was picking a hot potato issue in the region and using it as ammunition and throwing it first before anybody else.
But he's not stupid. He's not stupid. This is a lawyer. This is the man who's worked with Kenya
He's been a senator.
National Human Rights Commission. He's been a senator. He's very intelligent.
He knew exactly
He must have
what
known
he was
exactly
doing.
what he was
He
doing. And
knew
then to come and
exactly.
apologize for it later, then you want to ask a couple of questions.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
That's
And he
what
also
I'm
knew
asking,
that
was he
once you throw
speaking
it
for
out,
himself?
an apology doesn't take it away.
Yeah.
Words said cannot be unsaid. You can apologize, you can explain, you will never be able to pull back those words. And you see the words had the reaction it was required. You had Uhuru on Monday responding to it, and maybe that was the idea. Put him in a place where you put him in the defense, and now he has to come out, because I don't know whether Uhuru would have come out if that comment had not been made. Because it was a multi-level attack. As you said, there's a community that feels that it was attacked, which is Mount Kenya region, which I come from. And it's a dangerous thing for us to hear that kind of conversation, because we know, and as Uhuru said, we know where this goes. But then there's also Uhuru himself, who has interests in what it is that was being said, and who must have felt now threatened, especially coming from somebody in a government that doesn't think is friendly to him. So he must have been wondering, okay, where are you guys going with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Ngunjiri, I want to look at it because we can't say that Hassan didn't know what he was saying. He knew exactly what he was
That's
saying.
why I said that was not an apology.
And
it
we've
was an
seen,
explanation.
yeah, and you've seen others. You call them opportunistic reactionists. Let me call them that, right? But we are not seeing opportunistic reactions from agencies that are mandated to deal with this.
Well,
why? You talk about NCIC. UDA as a party in terms of reprimanding its own, and calling him out as a party. You talk about DCI, nothing from these agencies. And from where Kenyans sit, they are looking at it as this person belongs to a party that has formed a government, and all the other government agencies that is being led by them are silent. So the government knows exactly what was said, the reason why they are silent. Are Kenyans right in thinking that way?
I think, okay, first, give credit where it's due. I saw something by NCSC.
Okay.
I mean, we can't say it hasn't done something.
Okay.
We saw something by NCSC. But when we say Hassan is not a fool, the explanation he's giving is removing him from a crime to bad manners. You see, according to the law, when you attack a community, you've committed a crime. When you attack an individual, you haven't. When I say you're a bad person, you're a thief, you can choose to sue me, but this is now between me and you. So it's no longer a crime.
You can
DCI can't come in and investigate me, NCIC, because I said, I don't like so-and-so, and I said it. And there's nothing in the law that says I have to like him. So his explanation is actually moving back. He's backpedaling from a situation where we would be saying you attacked a community. That's why he keeps saying I did not attack a community, because attacking a community is breaking the law.
Yeah,
that one you can be sued, you can be arrested. It's hate speech. So he's moving back from that one, and you see he's been very consistent. I didn't attack a community. I attacked an individual. So that's now this is a smartness and the legal background and the understanding he has that if I stay within this space, there's nothing you guys can do to me. You might hate me, but I'm also being popular in my place. Because my language, what I'm saying, I always remember a gentleman called Basil Criticus who spent a long time battling that land issue. Again, politics started up as politics. And then it ended up being a whole big problem that he spent, I think, 25 years trying to solve. So that, I think, is a game that Hassan was playing here. But then also, I think he was just trying to make his bosses happy. And because remember, there's been a very major outcry within government about Uhuru.
Yeah.
So you find a low-hanging fruit. Uhuru is a large landowner in Mombasa. We have historical issues in Mombasa, and you just zero it in and you say, it's you.
Okay, so if that elicited the response that it did, and that we saw that there was a lot of upsetness that took place as a result of that, can you then equate it to there being an ethnic tribal issue in the country, or were people just upset because you're going to come at me? What was it? Can it be that somebody needed to be apologized to and then we, pat down our clothes and keep it moving? Or is there a deeper issue here that, look, because the thing about conversation is that we must be honest. That is there an issue that the people of Central Kenya have when somebody comes at them based on what they do or how they are in the political sphere? The 10 members of parliament who came out yesterday said very clearly, if he's not removed,
we are moving.
We are leaving this party. Now, does it speak to that an individual was attacked, or does it speak to their entire community was attacked, feels that they were attacked and we cannot have this? If that's the case, are they different from anybody else?
First, let's first finish with the issue of the apology. Hassan didn't apologize to Uhuru. He's actually been very clear. I'm not apologizing to this guy. This is the guy I was attacking. What I'm apologizing is to those people who think
they were hurt.
I attacked other people beyond him. So that's the first thing. Now, and earlier I said that what you say, you can't tell me how to interpret it. Because once you attacked Uhuru, and Uhuru we still see Uhuru as our political leader as Mount Kenya at this moment in time, then we feel as if you've attacked us. Then you have a history, which Uhuru alluded to on Monday of 2007. And he made a very interesting statement. He said, 2007 did not just happen. 2007 built up over time, and it began with comments like this one.
Okay.
And how does that comment begin? Today you're attacking Uhuru. Then tomorrow you're going to attack another big landowner in Mombasa. Then before you know it, you're attacking big landowners anywhere. And it spreads out. Now, where I think it could get tidier, you see, when Mount Kenya leaders in UDA, for example, do a press conference alone, then you have actually confirmed that it was a community that was being attacked. I would have wanted to see a bigger representation of UDA leadership from various communities, not just the Mount Kenya region, condemning what Hassan has said, because then that way we would all be agreeing what he has said is bad for all of us.
But they did.
Beyond just, you see, these Mount Kenya people were 10 people. If I had been in parliament at that time, I would have mobilized a lot more people from outside Mount Kenya. Okay. So that our threat and our challenge to Hassan is not a regional challenge. We're challenging from a national platform. What you said was wrong. Just because you said it about Mount Kenya, or Mount Kenya feels wrong, even if tomorrow you said it about Rift Valley or about the coast, it would still be wrong. So that we stop isolating this and making it a Mount Kenya issue. Anybody who speaks the way Hassan spoke about anybody else.
Anyone, okay.
And I have been very consistent about that in my, I'm sure you follow my Joffrey Chronicles, and saying, look, what Hassan has said, Gachagua has said before about other communities. He has talked about how when he's talking about the Kalenjins, he's talked about Watuha when he's talking about the Luos. Now Hassan has talked about Watu when he's talking about Mount Kenya. All of them are wrong. Let's not get upset just when it's attacked to us.
And I think that's I think the most critical point where we must come in, because I remember even there's a conversation that was held a while back when the Rironi Road was being constructed, and it was changed from being a development issue to being, when this road is going to a specific region, then people from Mount Kenya have a problem with it. But when Thika Road was being constructed, you never had a problem, because we must call bad manners in politics what it is, and stop sugarcoating it and saying you are attacking a community. It is purely bad manners, and the agencies that ought to work should just work and do their job.
And that's why Hassan is becoming complicated to go after, because we should have started this process the first time the first person attacked a community.
Yes.
So Hassan will argue, but so-and-so has been doing it and attacking Luos and Kalenjins,
and nobody said anything.
So why are you guys coming after me? And then that's why I'm saying that's what now makes it complicated, because now it becomes that Rironi Road conversation.
Yeah.
When Thika Road was made, you guys didn't make it a Mount Kenya issue. Why is Rironi Road becoming a West Kenya issue? You know, and that's why we need to capture these things right from the start.
Yeah.
We have to nationalize our conversation, and as you said, call bad manners bad manners. The minute I create a perception that a certain community is being isolated, when we say we are all cousins, I'm going to visit my cousins, and make it a political conversation. What have you said? So if you're not Kamba, you're not part of the
family.
group.
If you're not a Bantu.
If you're not a Bantu.
Well, I mean, he could have said it anywhere.
Yeah. But you see, so what you've done, you've created a Bantu Nilot.
Yeah.
Again, what you say doesn't determine how I interpret it.
Yes.
You can argue, and he argued it. He said, I meant we are related, but we are all part of a bigger family, but these are closer to us. But you see, the other person who is not Kamba starts saying, but even me, I associate with your political ideology. Are you telling me I can't be part of you because I am not your cousin?
Yeah.
And that's how we need to stop personalizing our politics. So that once your politics is issue-based, then it doesn't matter that I come from Amaluo and you're Kikuyu. If we have an issue we agree on, then our ethnic background does not count. Because what the issue, if we don't agree on corruption, then we don't agree on corruption. Whether it is a Kikuyu or a Luo or a Kalenjin doing it, we should all be able to say corruption is bad. We can't say that, those guys are corrupt, naturally corrupt. We can't say that.
Ngunjiri, when you talk about tribalism, we know where that has landed this country. Everybody
We've
in this
been there.
country knows.
I was old enough to know.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've been there. And it is also then associated more with the political class who've been pushing that agenda. That today we see the same being repeated. One asks the question, is tribalism or negative ethnicity a campaign material for the political class?
It's an easy mobilization tool. For example,
because it's emotive.
We are actually not just emotive, it's just easy.
Okay.
We're seated here. I don't know what tribe you are from. By the way, Dennis, it's for real.
Yes.
I've never thought about asking what community you come from so that we can have this conversation.
Yes.
You know, when we come to have a conversation, we talk about now we're talking about tribalism. I'm not interpreting what you're saying on the lens of where you come from. I'm just dealing with what you're saying as it is. Now, what has happened in this country, because we've been unable to hold politicians to account for what they say, they pick what they think is the easiest tool. So if you're running for office in Mount Kenya region, and majority of the people in Mount Kenya region are Kikuyu, then you make it a Kikuyu conversation. You forget that Kiambu, 30% of the people in Kiambu are not
cosmopolitan area.
Yes, are not Kikuyu.
Yeah.
But when you go to Kiambu, you speak like everybody in Kiambu is Kikuyu. Then you go to Nakuru, and that's now what's complicating our politics. When you hear politicians saying sisi watu wa Rift Valley, the politician is speaking about a community. But now, because you're trying to be careful, you don't want to say sisi wa Kalenjin. You're saying sisi watu ya Rift Valley. But everybody in Rift Valley is not Kalenjin. Everybody in Mount Kenya is not Kikuyu. When you say sisi wa Pwani, you're speaking about the local traditional communities of Pwani, but you go and find 40% of coast is Kamba. You go and find another percentage is Kikuyu. So the voter, and I keep throwing this thing at voters. I remember I went to a funeral recently, and you know when politicians are given a microphone, now these days the priests first say, and you remember where you are. You are warned before you speak. And I challenged the congregation, and they said, you are the ones who vote for politicians. Why not vote for politicians who won't make you feel uncomfortable when you give them the mic? Because you actually have that choice. Because everybody else who speaks, I don't know whether you've been in a funeral or a social setting, a lot of people speak in those settings. Nobody is warned until you get to the politician. Now wewe tumekupatia microphone, lakini ukumbuke uko kwa kanisa. So I was asking, why don't you, as local voters, ensure that the person you vote for doesn't give you cringeworthiness when he's about to give you a microphone?
And they're addressing you.
And they're addressing you, and you're the one who voted for them. So that's the same thing I want to say about now the whole idea of tribalism. It is up to us to decide that, because politicians flow with what the public wants. So if they're going along with tribalism, it means we have allowed them to do it. We keep, and I've said this on this platform many times, we want to point fingers at politicians a lot of the times. I mean, there they are, they're praying, they're doing national prayers today. We want to point fingers at politicians a lot of the times without remembering that politicians are actually representatives of us.
Yep.
Nobody in parliament today went in through a back door.
Nope.
He was voted by a group of people. Change the game, and then you'll change the politicians. Decide tribalism doesn't work, you'll change the politicians. But when I say we are cousins and we all get excited, it becomes a trend that it means we love that particular kind of conversation.
It's a few people who play this card, though. And folks have realized that, okay, if I play this card, then I can use it. You even accuse people who've not even gotten in the game of playing the card because you know that it's going to rile people up, as do emotional things. We cannot run away from the fact that the people who play this game are not Martians, they're human beings. So we also know that if you attack somebody's person, who their makeup, that they are going to react
to it.
So it is something that has been learned by politicians the world over, by the way, and we use this. But the truth of the matter is that they are in the minority, but that the effect is major. So is it something that can be ignored and say, okay, well, we know what you're doing and we can see you from very far, so what we're going to do is ignore you and we're not going to allow that to take root? Can you do that with something that we have already established gets to the core of somebody's being in terms of how they feel?
It can't be ignored. Okay, it can't be ignored. It can be acted against. But that would be a very deliberate action. And it has to be it has to start from a core group of people who expand it. And it will not start from the politicians, because this benefits politicians. It has to start from within the other people who get affected by it.
Yeah.
Because you see, when a politician runs a tribal narrative, you are mobilizing for politics, but you are affecting business community, you are affecting the church. So what we need is the other players who don't benefit, because the business community doesn't benefit from ethnic mobilization, because you don't sell your things to just particular tribes. The church doesn't benefit from ethnic mobilization unless you're running a particular church which operates in a small circle. So there are people, the sectors that get adversely affected by ethnic mobilization need to step up and stop thinking that it is a phase. Because what I've realized in this country, like now we're getting into political season, everybody has started now accepting this bad manners is now, we call it silly season. Silly season is here with us. So people will talk badly for a year, and then we'll take another year to recover, and then we have 3 years to do business, and then we start all over again. What we need to do is force. See, in the first world and in the established democracies, even they try to mobilize ethnically or racially, for example. You go to America and you'll hear the black vote, and they'll be looking for the WASP vote, and they'll be looking for the Latino vote. But then they've converted that into, I don't know that you can call it a positive mobilization tool. So the blacks are coming together to push for things that are specific to them, not to push against whites. So when you go to talk to them, they expect you to talk about how you're going to uplift things that are common to them. Here, you mobilize ethnically against. You're not telling Mount Kenya, I'm going to do this for you. You're telling Mount Kenya, we are going to stay away from them. So our politics is not even, our mobilization is not even positive. It is negative in that it's drawing us further and further away from other people. When you're campaigning to the black community, for example, in the States, you're trying to tell them how you're going to integrate them into the system, how you're going to make sure they benefit from government, how you're going to do this. Here, you're pushing that conversation by saying, when we get power, it will be about us. We will remove those other people. So the question you ask, can we ignore this? We can't ignore it. We need to deliberately speak to it. But we also are a generation that can't speak to it. Unlike our parents, who might have gone to school only with people like them, we are exposed enough to know that we are not just hanging out with people like us. You'll find that you're a circle of friends.
If that's the case, Wambugu, then why don't we see people playing this card every day of the year, throughout the year? If it was that serious, why do we only see it then when it's political silly season, as
because
you say?
The rest of us have decided politics is for a particular group of people, and we bear with them.
Okay.
So we allow them to do their thing. They get into office, and then the rest of us go on with our lives. And that is the saddest part about how our community operates. We imagine that the politicians are playing in their own small field, playing their own small game, without realizing that small game they're playing is affecting the rest of us. And 2007 should have taught us. Actually, I became a politician after 2007. Before that, I had never thought I would do politics. Because I realized that as we watch these guys play their game, they can actually stop the rest of us from going on with our lives. They can literally grind the country to a halt just by their bad manners.
Ngunjiri, on a normal day, Kenyans really don't care who you are, man. So we do business with each other. You're traveling from one point to the other. Do you know who's the owner of that vehicle?
No.
Kenyans really
Do you ever
don't
ask who
care.
The pilot is from what tribe when you get
don't
to a
really
plane?
care. You don't even care about the kanjus coming to your business. All you know is, I need to pay this guy, else my business is closed. But here we find ourselves then in these spaces where the political class will come and spew these narratives, yet those who are seated there will clap and smile with them and let them continue with their silliness on that space, that platform that they have been given. That would also be in places of worship. This has happened. What then must individuals surrounding that person at that time do to stop it there and then? For example, Hassan, if the president who spoke last and the deputy president who spoke second last called him out on the utterances that he made, that would have been a game changer. But we don't see that happen.
They'll most probably argue that they didn't want to make it a big thing. They didn't want to highlight and focus on it. And then now people are focused on it. So now everybody is working backwards. I've been in political settings and somebody will say something really nasty. And you're sitting there and you're like, okay, do I want to move from my prepared speech to deal with that person? Or am I just going to hope that
It doesn't blow up.
It doesn't blow up. And let's hold my fingers, cross my fingers and hope that it's going to end here. And then a lot of the times it ends there. But then every now and again you have a Hassan that doesn't end there. And then you now have to start dealing with the issue of you were seated there, you didn't do anything about it. Does it mean you support it? And you have to start also backpedaling. And the problem about it is, again, that issue of we are not very good at correcting people. And very few politicians will correct another politician, even if he misbehaves in front of you. You're like, you know what? Ni shauri yake, he'll be sorted. So a lot of politicians who are in that function are saying, you see, I knew Hassan was going to get in trouble. And they most probably spoke after him. But they're like, you know what, let me not be the one who lights the fire.
The president was sitting right there. The president sat next to him 2 feet away and could have said,
I don't want to be the one who triggers the backlash. Let me see whether it is actually going to be a backlash or hope it might not be there.
So politicians allow yourselves to trip each other up and just allow yourselves to continue
because
misbehaving.
Again, very few politicians hold a brief for any other politician. You're doing your thing and you don't want to be the one who spoiled for the other person.
Speaks about the morality of the political class and what exactly they think about Kenyans, no?
Actually, but who is the political class? The political class is us. And that's what I keep challenging people, that the political class comes from within us. And if they're behaving in a way we don't like, then we have the capacity to change that by changing the game. But we have allowed them to do this. If we make it unattractive to mobilize ethnically, they will stop doing it. But for as long as we are clapping for them, as long as we are agreeing, because even in that meeting, not everybody seated there, but I'm sure there were landowners seated there.
Yeah.
People who actually own land in the coast, large tracts of land, and who are not from there. And they were seated there. And they must have felt, hey, ujamaa pale anapitia is not good. But they didn't
do anything.
Want to be the ones who counter that conversation.
We now see a changing phase when it comes to how one would say the young people are looking at it. And I go back to the Finance Bill 2025, when I remember tribalism tried to creep in and everybody stood up and said, kama ye ni Karanja, we are all Karanjas. Kama ye ni Odhiambo, we are all Odhiambos. That is to just say that we are Kenyans and we reason as Kenyans. Tribalism aside, we recognize where we come from. That does not form our decisions and who we are as a people. Do you think that is changing things?
I want to believe very strongly that our children who are now Gen Zs, it's very difficult to convince them that that person is bad because they come from a different tribe. They're going to give you a hard time. No. They can't be bad because of their tribe. There must be something else. And then, as I said, a lot of them have gone to school with people from different communities. And they've had different religions. So unlike the past when your parents will tell you don't hang out with people from this community, you can't do that with the children anymore. And I want to believe that we would be the last generation that is misbehaving like this. They'll come up with their own ways of misbehaving. That is not going to be based on natural cleavages that we can't do anything about. We have picked, and give it to Moi, President Moi, when he was being pushed for multi-party democracy. And he said, you guys don't get it. The minute we introduce multi-party democracy, the first thing that is going to happen is that the tribes the parties that will come up will first be tribal. Because it is the easiest way to mobilize socially. You start saying, now as a tribe, we have become a political outfit. To go and that was one of his arguments against multi-party democracy. Of course, multi-party democracy is much better than single-party democracy, but I think we failed to appreciate the challenge that was ahead of us. We fought for multi-party democracy so much, we forgot to prepare for what it would mean. That multi-party, we've created laws that say you can't create a party that is based on a certain tribe. But for heaven's sake, we create a party, divide it, give out random positions to people so that you show that you have a face of Kenya. But we all know, in ya kabila fulani, in ya kabila
But
fulani.
isn't that the best place to start? And this is the thing, that we know that people coalesce around things that make sense to them. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with identifying as to where you come from. The problem is when you use it against someone else to think that they should not have a role to play here and you should, or that you hate based on the fact that they're not from where you're from. That's where we start to blur cross the line.
And it's the
but there's absolutely
nothing
wrong with identifying about who you are and where you're from. The problem is now staking that against somebody else. And so when we get to this place whereby people are almost afraid to say who they are or where they're from, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when we turn it into a conflict that can be avoided, whereby we say that in spite or despite where you're from, that we can work together, we can be one, we can be unified. So we take that little thing and we bastardize it and we turn it into something that people can use as a war tool. And that's the problem, because those things are done intentionally, because not everybody can be the same, but in the difference there can be unity. But people take that one thing that makes you different and use it as a tool and focus on it, which is the problem. And I think it's evil.
Actually, the problem could even be much more fundamental than that. We all understand what it means to be the tribe we come from, but we don't have a bigger identity that we aspire to beyond. And I've always used the example of Americans, and I don't know about whether that's how Americans believe. But when you're outside, you feel the American identity is so strong that even if you are Latino, you want to be a Latino who aspires to that particular identity, because it has benefits, it has
because they all
protection.
There is no bigger example of how different people came together, unified, than the United States. Because every single body, that's why when Trump comes and talks about who are they?
Immigrants.
They are all
immigrants.
They've all come from different parts. But it is in the difference that they realize that there can be unity, like you say, something to aspire
there's
to.
an investment in nationhood. The thing about us, we are very big in nation building. We are doing structures, we are doing things. We don't have, and I pray we are going to get there as a country. We do not have a focused effort in nationhood. Today, if you ask somebody, what does it mean to be a Kenyan? They have no clue, right? Until you get out of the country and you see another Kenyan in the airport. They're like, ooh, we only went to. But you see, it only becomes we only went to outside.
Outside, yeah.
We don't have, I wish we would get a ministry and who just innovates. There's a time we tried to do a Kenyan outfit and then that thing just died.
Yeah.
But you see, that's it. We have a Kikuyu way of dressing, we have a Kikuyu way of talking, we have the Luo way of dressing, a Luo way of talking. What is a Kenyan way of dressing? What is a Kenyan way of speaking? Nigeria has a Nigerian way of behaving. And you'll find that as much as they have their own differences, there's a thing they say that makes them Nigerian. We haven't invested enough in a Kenyanness. Look at Rwanda. Kagame has spent so much time trying to make Rwanda an identity. Why? Because they know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And you need to have an identity that is bigger than the one that you were born with.
Yeah.
So that even as you wear the one you were born with, you can aspire to the created one. Kenyans, if we're going to kill this negative ethnicity, we're only going to kill it by replacing how I feel about being Kikuyu by something else that makes me feel even better in Kenya. So I can comfortably be Kikuyu. We can be that coat of many colors. I can comfortably be red or yellow in a coat that has many other colors without running over any of them. Why? Because the coat is the most important thing. It is not my red color or my red section. It is that when we are a coat like this, we are powerful, we are strong, we are many good things. And in that way, I will be very happy to be part of the whole. Today, there's no advantage in being part of the whole. In fact, you feel as if you are safer and more politically powerful by being a small part. if we could make a situation where when we come together, those cartoons we used to watch, and then robots unite, robots would come from everywhere, and then
Voltron.
and then they all become one big robot. Now, if we created a part where I can plug in as a Kikuyu, you can plug in as a Luo, you can plug in as a Luya, you can plug in as a Kalenjin, and then the outfit that we create is powerful and serves us, makes me feel safer, makes me feel more economically capable, makes my environment better, then we are going to be interested in a Kenyan-ness. But for now, the identity that serves you is your natural tribal one. It's where you draw back on. It's where when you feel unsafe, that's where you run. We don't have that identity that is Kenyan that you run to out of the one you were born with. That's what, if we can invest in nationhood building, and I've always felt that our politicians lose that point by taking the easy way out. It's harder to be a nationhood builder. You can do roads and things, but to create a culture that the Americans have created, where all of us are different. So the only way we're going to survive is by creating something that is new, that all of us identify. And you watch the Americans, there's a lot of investment in Hollywood, in the American identity. That's how one American guy will kill a bunch of people from other communities. Because you want to say, as guys. So when you're watching that, you're like, oh, that is an American. Oh, it's good to be an American. Now, and that comes up with arts. It comes up with the study, what you're studying in school. We don't have a Kenyan history. We have a Kikuyu history. We have a Luo history. What is our Kenyan history? What is? Or are we not old enough to have a history? Maybe also we are too new as a state.
Well, not necessarily.
You get, but that's where we are coming from. Because actually, when you say that Rwanda is building their own identity, and we there are people who are doing it, and they're doing it because they're scared of what not doing it means. Us guys are not scared enough. We have 2007 as a scarecrow somewhere but I don't think it didn't scare us enough. Because if it had scared us enough, we would not be going back there again. We passed a new constitution that tries to make tribal politics hard. And yes, it does make it hard, but we are simply in our game.
In this political silly season, if you were to just speak up in terms of being patriotic, being a Kenyan, what would be your message to both? To us all, to us as Kenyans, not political class, not kawaida mwananchi, just Kenyans.
Let wrong be wrong, and let right be right. Let it not be influenced by where the person who is doing the wrong or right comes from. If somebody is being corrupt, let's the Mtuetu syndrome get finished. If somebody is doing the wrong thing, somebody has said the wrong thing. And I have tried to practice that you start by dealing with the problems in where you come from. Because when somebody else does it, then Mtuetu becomes an argument. You are attacking our person. Deal with your problems from where you are. So if there are people in your community who are misbehaving, deal with those ones before other people start dealing with them.
Indeed.
Clean from inside out.
And then out.
And we'll be fine.
There you go. Ngunjiri Wambugu, thank you for joining us this morning. That we must talk about them, whether it's uncomfortable. And if it brings out other things, then so be it.
So be it.
Asante Sana, thank you for being here. Looking forward to the next. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.